Hello everybody and welcome to today's review of Spencer. It is the new film directed by Pablo Larraín starring Kristen Stewart, Timothy Spall, and Sally Hawkins. The film is a depiction of Princess Diana as she spends Christmas with the royal family. Historically speaking, after so many years of an unhappy and unfaithful marriage, this is the critical point in which Princess Diana finally makes the decision to finally divorce Prince Charles. Now, right out of the gate, I'm gonna tell you right now, this film is not for everyone. This is not a puff piece or one of those typical Hallmark Channel movies or any of those Harvey Weinstein biographical dramas that we've seen in the past, like The King's Speech. Far from it. This film is more in the realm of Black Swan, an art house psychological thriller that uses visuals and music to depict an emotionally and mentally unstable character. And you shouldn't go into this film thinking that this is a historically accurate depiction of what actually happened. This film is meant to be a representation of what Diana must have felt like at the lowest point of her life. It is based on certain facts. For example, we know that Diana had mental health issues. For years, she struggled with depression, anxiety, bulimia, she self-harmed herself, and she even had suicidal thoughts. All of this was brought on from the fact that she was married to a man who was in love with another woman throughout most of their marriage. And all of that is depicted in the film. So some people might feel uncomfortable watching this film, but that's the whole idea. This is a movie about depression. But the director, Pablo Larraín, does it in a way that's very respectful, not like in a Hereditary kind of way. Now, let's get to the crux of the matter. Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana. Yeah, when I first heard the news of her being cast in this role, I was pretty perplexed. She would have been the furthest from my mind to play this part. Not only because she's American and this is a very English role, although I can't really hold that against her because in the past we have seen a lot of British figures being portrayed by American actors. But also, it's because I still see her as Bella from Twilight. Still, I cannot hold that against her either because even though that franchise was horrible and did absolutely nothing to help out the actors except maybe give them a little notoriety. Over the years, I've seen Kristen Stewart develop as an actress. However, and not to be disrespectful or anything, I've always found her to be sort of like a one-trick pony. Literally every character I've watched her play, I see her play herself with the same sort of mannerisms. You know, she's very awkward. She looks like she's not getting enough sleep. And she always does that kind of thing. I do a horrible Kristen Stewart impersonation. And not only that, but Emma Corrin just portrayed Princess Diana in the Netflix series The Crown, which I loved. So I was just thinking, how could Kristen Stewart possibly top this? But you know what? Pablo Larraín directed Natalie Portman in Jackie, and that was a terrific film and a terrific performance by Natalie Portman. So I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And after watching this film, if you were to ask me, did Kristen Stewart do a good job in this film? Absolutely yes. Believe me, I'm not just saying that because she's been getting a lot of good press for this film. She actually surprised me. Everything that I was hoping for in this film, I got. I didn't want to watch Kristen Stewart play Kristen Stewart. I wanted Kristen Stewart to play Princess Diana. And she did a fantastic job. And not only is that because she had terrific hair and makeup, in which case she completely disappears into the role. I think she got the dialect down, she got the mannerisms down, and also, and more importantly, I fully believe that she was able to understand what Diana was going through by portraying a woman who was bottling up so much emotion, so much raw emotion, that at any moment she could explode. And this is exactly what this film is. It's basically us watching Diana go through a complete psychotic breakdown. And the director just did a great job at just making this character's life miserable. Not once does she have a moment of privacy. Everything that she says, does, or wears is automatically reported to somebody else, and she is criticized for just wanting to be herself. And I also appreciate the writing of this film. The writer Stephen Knight uses a lot of metaphors and symbols to kind of represent Diana's frustrations. For example, in the beginning of the film, Diana happens across a scarecrow on the grounds of her childhood home. To her, the scarecrow kind of represents her childhood, a sort of innocence that she once had but then sort of lost. That to me was a great representation of what her struggles have already done to her. After so many years of being told what to do and how to behave, she no longer recognizes who she was. She kind of forgot herself along the way. Also, in the film, Diana is being haunted by the ghost of Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn Boleyn was one of the wives of Henry VIII, who ended up getting her head cut off because her husband suspected her of having an affair, when in fact it was actually her husband who was having the affair. That was a very interesting parallel that the writer made between Diana and Anne Boleyn. However, Diana was in fact having affairs behind Charles's back. So it's nice to see that this character is not depicted as a total victim. She was not perfect herself. In fact, the film takes a lot of detours, in which case Diana starts to make a lot of questionable decisions. She becomes more hostile towards the staff, and at one point she even tells one of the dressers, "Leave me alone so I can masturbate." Now that might sound weird, but after what we have learned about this character, you kind of understand why she said something like that. It was clearly a cry for attention because she has now reached a moment of desperation. And not only is she seeking attention, she's seeking help. Because she feels like no one understands what she's going through and nobody's even listening to her or even cares. So the only way she can get people's attention is if she starts behaving so erratically. But the one thing that I want to point out is that I was afraid that this film was going to show the royal family as villains, and it doesn't. By the time we get to the third act, we've come to understand that many members of the royal family, the Queen, Prince Charles, even William and Harry, they understand that she's going through a rough time and they do care about her happiness. But because of the way that they were brought up, they're in a position where they actually don't know how to help her. And not only that, the royal family themselves are not happy about their situation either. But the thing is, they have been brought up in this sort of world and they're so cemented in this sort of lifestyle that they can actually deal with it. There are certain people that are able to live this kind of lifestyle, but Diana is clearly the one who is not meant to. She was not brought up this way. She doesn't think this way. And so when she got married into this family, she was a fish out of water. And it's nobody's fault. It's just one of those classic toxic relationships. When both parties cannot meet the needs of the other, they have no choice but to break away. You know, we're at a time when mental health is actually being discussed more openly and honestly. And I think that this film does a great job at contributing immensely towards that conversation. There's a lot of examples to derive from here. And it's not a completely depressing film. There is a moment of hope in which certain audience members could take in and actually give them encouragement that this sort of thing can be beaten. And there are steps that you could take to better your own life. Now, granted, it is not a perfect film. Like I said, it is a very artsy film and not everybody will take to it. For me, I like those kind of films. But the film sort of dragged in the beginning. It took a very long time to get the ball rolling. And even though the cinematography in this film is beautiful, there were a couple shots in the film that lingered on way longer than they should have, and that just took me out of the film for a minute. But still, this is definitely one of the best films that I've seen this year, and definitely the standout performance in this film is Kristen Stewart. A lot of people are saying that she is the frontrunner for Best Actress at the Academy Awards next year. Now, will she get nominated? She better be. Will she win? I don't know. There are a lot more movies that I need to see and I haven't seen all of them yet, but this is definitely the best performance of her career and she should get nominated, if not win. So I'm going to give Spencer an A. Thank you for watching my video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope to see you again next time.